Hello, everyone. This is the CircuitPython weekly meeting for February 9th, 2026. It's the time of the week where we get together to talk about all things CircuitPython. My name is Tim, and I am sponsored by Adafruit to work on CircuitPython. CircuitPython is a version of Python that is designed to run on tiny computers called microcontrollers. The development for CircuitPython is primarily sponsored by Adafruit. If you'd like to support them and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from them at their store, adafruit.com. The meeting, as always, is hosted on the Adafruit Discord server, which you can join anytime by going to adafru.it/discord. We hold a meeting in the CircuitPython dev text channel as well as the CircuitPython voice channel. The meeting typically happens on Mondays at 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern or 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific, except when that coincides with a U.S. holiday, as it does next week, which I'll note again at the end of the meeting. In the notes doc, there is a link to a calendar, which you can view online or load in your favorite calendar app. We will also send out notifications about upcoming meetings on the Discord to folks who have the CircuitPythonistas Discord role, the same role you need in order to speak in the meeting. And I will mention here as well, next week is on Tuesday, so the 17th we will be meeting next, Tuesday of next week. There is a shared notes doc that accompanies the meeting and recording. You can contribute to the document beforehand. The final notes document includes timestamps to go along with the video, so you can use that document to skip around and view the parts of the video that interest you most. The meeting tends to go 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how many folks we have. After the meeting, we post a link to the next meeting's notes document in the CircuitPython dev channel here on Discord. You can always check the pinned messages in that CircuitPython dev channel to find the latest notes doc, and you can fill in hug reports and status updates throughout the week if you would like as well. You don't have to wait until Monday. It takes a bit after the meeting to get the new one up, but once the new one is up, you can fill those in anytime you want, even if it is not a meeting day. Meeting structure, I think most folks know, but just recapping quickly, meeting is held in 5 parts. We'll take a look at community news, a subset of items from the Python on Hardware newsletter. Then we will look at the state of CircuitPython, the libraries in Blinka, get some stats, overall, quantitative look at the project and surrounding repos. Next up after that will be the first of our round robins, hug reports. We'll go around the room. Folks can take an opportunity to say thanks or give hug reports to people who have done cool stuff in our community or elsewhere. Next up is status updates. That's our next round robin. We'll go around the table again, and this time we'll talk about what we have been doing for the last week since the last meeting, or what we think we'll get up to until the next meeting. Then we have an In the Weeds section where we have an opportunity for more long-form discussions. Those can be discussions that are identified ahead of time and put down in the notes document, or they can also come out of status updates. If we get into a discussion as part of someone's status updates, we can always bump that to In the Weeds if needed. So yeah, if you are participating in the meeting and you want to add an In the Weeds topic, you can just scroll all the way down to the bottom of the notes doc. Just put a bullet point in the Weeds section with your name and what you'd like to talk about. And when the time comes at the end of the meeting, we will call on you and we can discuss. All right. Excuse me. All right. So next up is community news. I'll take the first timestamp here. First item in community news this week is MicroPython OS. MicroPython OS is a lightweight, fast, and versatile operating system that's designed to run on microcontrollers like the ESP32 and desktop systems. It has a modern Android-like touchscreen UI, has an app store and over-the-air updates. It is an OS for innovators and developers, and now has a professional website as well, which you can find at micropythonos.com. And there are links here as well to GitHub and CNX as well. So this is a cool project, especially after having worked on FruitJam OS. This caught my eye, I think last week. Someone shared this with me, and I tested it out, the desktop version of it. And it is quite a slick, nice UI, and I like the way they've done the store and the updating and stuff as well. So I think there are some cool things that we can learn from that MicroPython OS. I'm excited to tinker around with that a bit more. Next up, Next item in the newsletter, I should say, we have CircFirm, a CLI tool for updating the firmware for CircuitPython boards. CircFirm version 5 is now out. It now officially supports Python 3.14. This version updated the dependencies and added Dependabot to that end. You can easily manage and install CircuitPython firmware versions onto your development boards from the command line. This project is open sourced under the MIT license, and there are links here to GitHub and Mastodon. And I will say hug report for this one goes out to a TechTrick community member who made this tool. It is quite a useful tool if you find yourself changing versions on your CircuitPython devices frequently. It's sort of in the same vein as Circuit, but this one is for the firmware rather than the libraries, and it is quite convenient. Next up, we have Ultimate Fusion 360 controller. Let me take the timestamp. The Ultimate Fusion 360 controller is a DIY macro pad and space mouse using the Raspberry Pi Pico and CircuitPython. It is a complete productivity station for Fusion 360, Blender, and for coding. It features a custom 5x5 mechanical key matrix and 2 rotary encoders for scrolling and volume, as well as a custom-built 6 degrees of freedom space mouse, which is magnetometer based. That lets you orbit, pan, and zoom in 3D space. And there are links here to YouTube and GitHub, and I am a bit of a sucker for a macro pad that runs CircuitPython, so I couldn't resist including this one in my choices this week. So check that out if you like macro pads or use Fusion 360 or other complex software that you would like to get a better hold on. Next up, we have using MicroPython with PyCharm as an alternate to Thonny. Kevin Williams ditches Thonny and shows how to use PyCharm and the MicroPython tools plugin to work with MicroPython. And there is a link here to Kevin Williams' blog post about this topic of using PyCharm with MicroPython devices. Another one I could not resist adding here because I also use PyCharm as my local development, so I am always on the lookout for folks that are using that to interact with microcontrollers. So I will definitely take a look at this and read a bit more about what they have set up and what the plugins are and stuff. This looks super interesting. And then finally, last item for the newsletter that I grabbed this week is the screensaver bundle for FruitJam OS. There is a little picture here if you would like to see a preview of what one of the screensavers looks like. This one is a little maze solving, not quite robot, but little animation. Essentially, it roams around the maze and it shows you where it's been and where it's going currently. And then once it makes it to the end of the maze, it will respawn a new one. So just a nice little screensaver. And there is a link to the Adafruit playground here, and the playground does contain a couple of other screensavers as well, so check that out if you would like. I believe that's Dan, is it Cogliano? I think is the name there. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but thanks to them for publishing not only this maze one, which is cool, but as well as some other screensavers there on the playground for FruitJam OS. All right. So all of these items, as well as many others, came from the Python on Microcontrollers weekly newsletter, which is a CircuitPython community-run newsletter, which gets emailed out every Monday. The complete archives are available online at adafruitdaily.com. It highlights the latest Python and hardware-related news from around the web, including CircuitPython, Python, and MicroPython developments. If you would like to contribute your own news or projects, you can email cpnews@adafruit.com. We always appreciate contributions from the community. Thanks to Anne, as well as always, for putting these great newsletters together for us each week. And with that, we will get into the state of CircuitPython, the libraries, and Blinka. So this section is a quantitative overview of the entire project. Gives us a chance to look at the health of the project separate from our status updates. I will tell you about the overall stats, and then we will separately discuss the core, the libraries, and Blinka. So first up, our overall stats. This week we had 11 pull requests overall with 8 different authors. It occurs to me just now I didn't go through and bold names, so on the fly here, I think the names that are newer, less frequent, don't catch my eye as being in these lists from week to week. This week are Scarlin and Daniel Alson. So thanks to those folks who might be newer or less frequent contributors, as well as all of the other names here, which I do recognize seeing more frequently. including Jepler, got some, looks like PRs put in this week as well. So that's cool as well to see Jeff pop back up in this list. We had 4 reviewers, thanks to Dan, Scott, Mark Gambler, and myself. We had issues-wise 21 issues closed by 6 different people and 3 new issues opened up by 3 people. And with that, I will pass it over to Scott if you are available to tell us about the core.
Yes, I can tell you about the core, but I do not have my notes up, so let me find them. Okay, so for the core, we had 9 pull requests merged from 7 different authors. So new names for me, Scarlan, Daniel Alsen are new, so thank you to them. We had 3 reviewers, myself, Dan, and Gambler21, so thanks to Gambler for that. We had 23 open pull requests, so we're back under our goal of 25, which is a single page of PRs. So that's great. So thank you to folks for getting through issues or through pull requests. Let me be specific. Issues-wise, we had 20 closed issues by 5 people and 1 opened by 1 person. So we're down to 838 open issues, which is great. We track Adafruit-funded prioritization via the 8 active milestone or the milestone function. My brain is not quite here. And Dan currently is focused on 10.1, which also includes 10.0x, which has 0 open issues. 10.1 has 20 open issues, so we've got some work to do there. They will either get looked at or they'll go to the 10xx category probably. We have 1 issue not assigned a milestone at the time of these stats, but I suspect we've already gotten through that. And if not, we will soon. We are keeping up to date with issues coming in and triaging them. So that's where we're at with the core.
All right, thank you, Scott. Next up is a section covering the CircuitPython libraries. The libraries are all hosted on GitHub. They are split up into 2 different bundles. We have the Adafruit library bundle, which has 381 libraries in it currently. We have the community library bundle, which is at 172 libraries currently. And these are the Python level libraries that run on your microcontrollers to add support for various pieces of hardware or provide helper classes and things that make certain projects easier and require less code in your CodePy file. So across all of the Adafruit bundle libraries this week on GitHub, we had 2 pull requests merged by 2 authors, thanks to Liz and Tektrick. We had 1 reviewer, myself. Of the merged pull requests, they were both on the newer side of things. The oldest one was 11 days, the newest one was 1 day. That leaves us with 38 pull requests open. The oldest one of those is a draft that is up to 1,271. The newest one is at 1 day. Issues-wise, we are looking at 1 issue closed by 1 person, 2 new issues opened up by 2 people, leaving us currently with 770 open issues across the Adafruit bundle libraries. And there is one of those right now that's labeled as a good first issue. You can find that one as well as the others listed over at circuitpython.org/contributing, which is the website where you should head if you'd like to get involved in CircuitPython, namely on the Python side of the project. So on that page, circuitpython.org/contributing, the first thing you'll see is a list of open PRs. These are links over to GitHub. These PRs are in need of a person to come and review them. So take a look over the code, test it out if you have hardware, and then leave a comment on GitHub letting us know how it went if you were able to test it out, and what you found if you looked over the code. Does it look good? Do you think it should change? Is there logic errors or syntax errors or anything like that with it? If you do want to get involved and you get comfortable with that process, again, kind of looking over those code changes on GitHub, leaving your comment there, letting us know how the testing went and all that stuff, and you would like to get leveled up to leave official reviews, we can work with you to do that. We can add you to the review team over on GitHub if you'd like. If you would like to start getting your hands dirty submitting some of your own changes, you can also do that from the same page, circuitpython.org/contributing. If you click over to the issues navigation link at the top, you will get a similar looking page with links over to GitHub, but these ones represent issues instead of PRs. They don't have a proposed change yet. They're waiting for a person who is interested in making a change, be it could be for fixing an issue, adding a new example or a new feature, or something like that. So similarly, you can take a look through that list, find something that interests you, click over to GitHub, read about what the issue is. and then you can submit your own PR to resolve that issue. We do have a Learn Guide for contributing to CircuitPython using Git and GitHub. So if you need help with the version control or the actions or anything like that, we have a guide that will help walk you through that. We also have folks who are around on Discord who are here throughout the week and who are happy to help you out. So if you are having trouble reviewing or trying to submit your own PR to resolve an issue, or just submit a PR to add something that you want to add, if you are having trouble with it, just come say hi on Discord. Let us know what you're up to. We would be happy to help you out. We want everyone to be able to contribute in whatever way works best for them. Next up, I will tell you about the new libraries this week. The Yotto player is the new one for the Adafruit bundle. So hug report to Liz and Scott who worked on that. Folks, if you have a Yotto player device, we now have support to run CircuitPython on there, which is super cool. And then updated libraries over in the community bundle. USB host gamepad was updated as well for using USB-based game controllers, CircuitPython devices. You can check that out for the latest features there. Next up, I will tell you about Blinka. So Blinka is the CircuitPython compatibility layer. This runs on Raspberry Pis and other single board computers. It allows those devices to run code that was written for a CircuitPython device, but run it on that Raspberry Pi in a more fully fledged Linux environment. Across the Blinka repos this week, not much action, 0 pull requests merged, no authors, no reviewers. There are 16 pull requests open, and it looks like quiet on the issues front as well. 0 closed issues by 0 people, 0 new issues opened up, leaving us with 146 open issues for Blinka right now. And we do have 166 different boards currently that support the Blinka compatibility layer. All right. So with that, we will get into Hug Reports next. I will take a timestamp. I will tell you a bit about Hug Reports. This is a chance to highlight folks in the CircuitPython community and beyond for doing awesome things. I'll start, then we'll go down the list of Hug Reports alphabetically. If you're text only or missing the meeting, then I will read your notes for you. Otherwise, I will call on you and you can unmute here in the Discord and read them yourself. So I will kick us off. My Hug Reports this week, thanks to Kevin McAleer for creating and sharing TinyWiki. There's a link here to GitHub for this project. It's basically a small web server that hosts a Wikipedia-like web pages that are backed by Markdown. And it was originally written for MicroPython by Kevin, who published it on GitHub. So thanks to them. Very cool project. And then also another Hug Report, thanks to Mikhail Pakusa for continued improvement of the HTTP server and template engine CircuitPython libraries. Very much appreciate their work on both of those. And so next up, I will pass it over to Dan.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to Retired Wizard, Anecdata, Bablock B, and Just Mobilize, who were trying out my draft PR of Wi-Fi support, that is the Wi-Fi module support and related modules for Airlift coprocessors. So it pointed out some things I'll talk about in status updates. And thanks to Deshipu, who updated the stage libraries after somebody pointed out that they were not compatible with CircuitPython 10. And that's it.
All right, thanks, Dan. Next up, we have Anne.
Hello. I just wanted to give Hug Reports to people who contribute to the newsletter. I find a lot of content by just searching various places on the internet, but it makes my job a lot easier if people send things in, especially if you want to highlight your project and you just post it to Mastodon. Go ahead, pat yourself on the back and email it, and I'd be glad to put it in the newsletter and show it off.
All right, thanks, Ann. Yep, and as always, the address for that, cpnews@adafruit.com for folks that want to email stuff in. Next up, I will send it over to Scott.
Thank you, Tim. For me, I have a Hug Report to RX App Dev, who made this thing called Mouse Tiler. It's a mouse-first tiling script for KWin, which is used by KDE, and I am primarily mouse driven for a lot of stuff. So it actually brings tiling window management to me, which has been awesome. So thank you to them. And then I just wanted to say kind of a thank you in progress to Ace, Johnny, Sam Blenny, Foamy Guy, Annick Data, Lord Ryback for having this ongoing and thoughtful discussion on the impacts of coding agents on software development. It's super new, super uncomfortable, but I think we can all figure it out together. So I really appreciate the honest discussions about this.
All right. Got. And that is it for Hug Reports. Next up will be status updates. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Status updates is our time to tell folks what we're up to individually. I'll start, and then we'll go through the list of updates alphabetically or as they appear in the notes doc. When I call on you, you could take a couple of minutes, tell us what you've been up to in the past week since the last meeting, or what you'll be up to over the next week until the next meeting. If a discussion becomes too long for status updates, we can always bump that down to in the weeds. I will kick us off again. Last week, the OpenClaw on Raspberry Pi 5 guide that I was working on was published, so that is out there now if folks want to experiment with that. I know on Desk of Lady Ada, it looks like she was setting up some of that stuff yesterday as well. So lots of interesting things going on in that world, I think. The next thing I worked on after OpenClaw stuff was kind of jumped into Android side of things. So the Bluefruit Connect V2 Android app is an app that lets you interface with various Bluetooth devices running either CircuitPython or Arduino scripts. And the Android app is unpublished from the Play Store because Google has updated the requirements a couple of times over the years. So you have to use the newest SDK and you have to update your app to do a couple of different things. So I'm working on getting that updated. It is up to date on the latest SDK. I've been testing that out here with a test phone, and we are looking good there. While I was working on it, I noticed I couldn't find an image receiver example for CircuitPython. So one of the features inside this app is the ability to beam an image from the phone over to the Bluetooth client, whatever microcontroller devices you're using. And I couldn't find any CircuitPython example for that to receive the image and show it on the display. So with a little bit of help from Claude, I was able to whip up something that parses the data format that comes in and get it displaying on Display IO, which is super cool. It was very helpful as well because one of the main things that have changed in the latest SDKs for Android was all the stuff around like gallery and choosing an image and letting the user choose an image to share with an app. So I was testing all that stuff a lot anyway. It was cool to be able to do it with CircuitPython also. After that, I have been setting up and then trying out this Pi coding agent and the Codex, GPT Codex LLM. So that has been fun to try to figure out, getting it set up. I am running it in a Raspberry Pi in kind of a whole little sandbox environment. So I've been getting that set up. Right now, the next thing I'm working on is giving it access to a microcontroller, so a CircuitPython device that it can run code on and then connect to the serial port and read the output on, so that it can kind of make a full loop of the iteration of write some code, run it on the CircuitPython device, and then check the output and see how it went, which I think will be super cool and super helpful. And then I have been sort of project-wise working on porting this tiny wiki, the MicroPython-based wiki project that I mentioned before from Kevin McAleer. I've been working on porting that from MicroPython over to CircuitPython using our network stack and using the HTTP server and template engine libraries. So that is going pretty well and is a neat little project, and there will be a Learn guide coming up for that soon. And that's it for me. Next up, I will pass it over to Anne.
Hello again. I've got this little project I've been working on for a few days. I want, I've got a lot of hardware, both new and old, and mainly thinking about monitors. I mean, I want to test out monitors to make sure they work. And the only way to do that is to have a video source, but especially for some of the older tech, it's very hard to get video sources. I mean, are you going to have a working vintage computer to boot up or what? So I want something that's very small and you can just plug in a monitor and see if it's working. So I've been iterating on designs, one just using HDMI and then scaling that down into the smaller ones, which is very bulky and kind of expensive on the whole of it. I've been using the Adafruit Feather 2350, and HDMI is trivial on that. There's a lot of VGA projects, and I was working on some, but I think between having a monitor that's kind of picky and some resistor issues, and I don't know, a little of this and that, it took me a while. I've got basic VGA video working, and it actually works the same time that DVI HDMI is running too. So I can have the REPL on the HDMI display and a VGA signal outputting on the other. Now, having them both at the same time is not necessarily in the requirements, but it's not bad. But I've been having some programming issues, and I'm going to push that to in the weeds to see if anybody has some insights.
All right. Next up, we will hear from Dan.
All right. So it's been a while since we've done any kind of release. I'd like to do a 10.1.0 release pretty soon. There are a lot of bugs in the 10.1.0 milestone. We're probably going to defer most of those, but to some later release. But I did try to work on the sort of the highest level, highest value bugs. So two that I fixed in the past week were a longstanding bug, like since 8 or 9 or something, that causes Thonny not to work well, especially on Atmel SAMD ports. If any code that you run in Thonny raises an exception, then terrible things happen. You get Thonny disconnects, there's safe mode, and some other things like that. And originally, it even caused the board to be bricked on certain SAMD21 boards that didn't have a protected bootloader. That latter was a different problem, kind of. But anyway, so I fixed that bug. It has to do with assembly language code at the exception handling level, or exception handling code at the assembly language level. So I closed that. When that issue is closed, it will close 8 outstanding issues. I wish all POs could be like that, because basically I'm closing almost 1% of all issues with this one thing. Then I fixed the regression in CircuitPython 10 that caused code that does explicit refreshes to run about half the speed that it used to. So that's fixed. That is display IO code. There are a bunch of reports of flakiness and slowness with the SD card presentation over USB, and I may or may not work on that before the 10.1.0 release. I'm trying to reproduce some of the issues consistently. And then I mentioned testers who were working on the Airlift Wi-Fi implementation. What that shows is that it doesn't still work that well on Airlift boards. I mean, on RP2XXX Airlift boards. And I'm not sure whether that's because it's using a C6 coprocessor or whether it's due to some idiosyncrasy of the Raspberry Pi RP2 choice. And then also, something that I didn't realize is that we have some native support on a few boards for Ethernet, hardware Ethernet, and there are some naming conflicts with the SSL module about what the Ethernet support needs and what the Airlift support needs, and they're kind of in conflict, and we might need to push down into the code and check at runtime which Wi-Fi, which not network adapter, not Wi-Fi adapter, whether it's Wi-Fi or Ethernet, and check that at runtime. So that's a whole bunch of complicated things. Sorry for the detail. And that's it for me.
No worries. Next up is Scott.
Hello. Primarily, I'm focused on doing BLE on Zephyr. I've got scanning and advertising seeming to work. It's tested. I'm just finishing up testing on hardware. It's also tested on BabelSim, which is the simulated BLE environment on your host computer that Nordic has added for Zephyr. I've got one more board I want to test it on because I added a board dev for it, and then I will review the code and PR it. I'm also working on Rotary I/O. It works in the native sim test, but I need to test on real hardware as well. I started a bit of a side quest for a breadboard CLI tool that will basically figure out where on a breadboard to put things to test things and then wire them up automatically for you. I have this fancy breadboard that can auto-connect things together based on like scripting. So I'm pretty excited about that. Just kind of saying like, take this itsy bitsy NRF 52840 and put it with a rotary encoder and just tell me where to put them and make it work. So I'm poking at that on the side as well. It has me thinking more about pin use management and muxing in Zephyr, which we're not really doing at all right now because most of the Zephyr support that we have has kind of like fixed pin usage. But to be like really true CircuitPython, we have to do pin muxing. So I'm starting to think about how to do that. And then lastly, on the side, I was poking native networking in the native sim. So this is where the native version of CircuitPython just uses like regular socket commands. And I have it running where it can talk to the web workflow. The tests, the native sim tests say they can talk to the web workflow. And there's tests there to exercise that. I would really love to use this to just validate that the web workflow doesn't break. I want to do the same thing with BLE once we get BLE fleshed out so that we can verify that the BLE workflow is solid and doesn't break. But for now, I'm starting with web workflow. Pi did have to implement socket stuff, so this could actually be a huge step for Wi-Fi and Ethernet support as well. So I'm excited to continue moving that along as well.
Thank you, Scott. And that is it for status updates. Next is in the weeds, which, as a reminder, is an opportunity for more long-form discussions, either stuff that came out of discussion in status updates or stuff that is identified ahead of time for an in the weeds topic discussion. We do have a couple topics this week, so I will pass it over to Dan. I want to kick off the first discussion.
Okay, so one thing that right now in the CircuitPython dev channel in Discord, we post any posts and issues and PRs. And we also mostly the CircuitPython repo, but there are a couple other repos that get tracked in there too. And recently, as an example, there's been a PR that has a lot of interaction with Copilot going on. Copilot's automatically reviewing things. The PR author is responding to those things, and it's really kind of filling up. There's a lot of posts in CircuitPython dev to the point that you can't quite see what's going on sometimes, and you miss posts by humans or non-GitHub posts. So I think the question is, should we consider creating a separate channel for the posts from GitHub? CircuitPython dev git-github or something like that. And you can just review that. People like the posts when there are not too many of them because it sort of gives you an idea of what's going on in the repo. But maybe it's too detailed. So should we have a separate channel? Should we prune out the interaction with Copilot, which tends to be wordy? I think it's not just Copilot's wordy. Sometimes there's a bit back and forth between a PR author that can generate a lot of posts in a short period of time. So it's not just that automation that's causing this. Or should we try to prune down what's posted automatically from GitHub in the channel and maybe just post the original posts for PRs and issues, and maybe when those things get closed or merge, but take out the intermediate discussion. If somebody's interested, they can go look at it. I'm a little kind of interested in maybe the third thing, and or maybe having a separate channel that's more complete. Does anybody have some opinions besides me about this?
Yeah, one thing I would add on sort of the last option there, pruning out the intermediate comments. I wonder if there would be a way to have it be time-based to try to prune out like a burst of a bunch of comments in a row, but if a thing has sat for a while and then gets a comment, it might still be nice to see that. I say that because I do sometimes, I'll check in the morning in that channel and I'll see like somebody overnight posted a new comment on some old issue that I just didn't even know about at all, and it might catch my attention. I'll go read the issue, and it may be interesting to me from that front. So I've discovered a few things that way. I think it would be nice to be able to still see that sort of stuff, although it would make the filtering a lot harder. I don't know if the sort of like time burst based filter is possible at all. But if it is, I think that would be kind of cool, as if it's like, if we see, like maybe we post only one post from each unique issue or PR for the given hour. So if 20 posts get generated in the same hour, then only the first one gets posted to Discord. But if the next day someone comes along and posts a new thing, then that one will make it because it's been long. Something like that, in my mind, would be kind of ideal. And then whether it's in a new channel or the CircuitPython dev channel, I don't necessarily have a strong opinion on it. Check it out wherever it's at personally.
Okay, that's interesting. I mean, so the pruning of the first post and that's easy to do because there are settings in GitHub, in the GitHub thing about what should be sent. But the time-based thing, there's no GitHub mechanism for that. It would have to be like a Discord bot or something like that. And I don't know. I'll see. I can investigate whether anybody else has written anything like this. Maybe this is a job for an LLM to write a Discord bot for, which I've never tried to do. So
I don't think you need a Discord bot. Because it's done as a webhook. So I was thinking about this a little bit of just being able to filter between like human generated stuff and Copilot generated stuff. But your point of like people replying to Copilot, like I don't want to see that either. My original thing was like if we had some small server where it got a webhook in and could like basically split it into two webhooks into Discord, one that's like bot noise and human noise, would basically get us back to where we were. I think the simplest thing right now is just to turn off the PR comments. As you said, is just like on the webhook, just don't do PR comments anymore. So we still see PRs and other stuff, but not PR comments. And I think we get a lot of that.
Yeah, I think that makes sense because it's mostly issue comments can come through. They're much less common than PR comments.
Right, and also we could make a separate channel for PR comments. Like that means we don't have to host a server that's doing web filtering.
Right. Hosting a server is like it wouldn't be so hard to write such a server. It's more like the infrastructure for that server is more work than the actual filtering. Yeah.
So I think just splitting it into two webhooks. We could just try ignoring, the PR stuff, the PR comments altogether, but it would be easy to add it as a separate channel too.
Well, why don't I think I'll immediately restrict the PR posts, and then work on adding some other webhook or channel. Yeah.
This is sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say, this is definitely a problem that we're all going to have to figure out with LLMs being able to generate so much stuff, that we're going to have to have ways of distinguishing signal from noise, basically. It's okay for somebody to use Copilot to iterate on a PR, but we don't all need to see it. In fact, I have this issue actually seeing the review inline in the pull request. I would much prefer that people do this process before it ever comes to me.
Oh yes, I agree with that completely. Right? Yeah, that people are using the PR as an IDE kind of, and I'd rather them do that on in their own space. Yeah.
Right. So we could say like, if you're going to use automated LLM code review, that's great, but don't do it on a PR.
Right.
Like do that before you make the PR so that we don't have to see it, and then you're ready for a human to look at it.
Right. I'm not sure GitHub makes that so easy, but we'll see.
There are some like rule sets that we can set up, but yeah, I think GitHub's like definitely. I mean, they have a vested interest in everybody doing Copilot, and I didn't actually see a way to turn it off. I think it might be at the organization level. So that's a discussion we could have a little more if we wanted to say like, you can do these reviews outside of our GitHub, right? Like VS Code will happily have Copilot do it there or something. Like we could try to have that policy too, but we're all just figuring it out of like how do you deal with the noise that is so easy to generate with LLMs.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for both your comments, and I have something to go forward with here.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Dan. Next up for our next topic for In the Weeds, I'll pass it over to Anne.
Okay, relating to me generating video, obviously on RP2350, I'm using PIO because that's the easiest way, but I'm not so familiar with the PIO commands. As far as I know, there are like two ways of getting bits out. One is, where's my thing? Okay, yeah, one is the set operator. I think that sets bits, and then out seems to output bits based on their status, like in memory or something. And so you can see my little picture there in the notes. I mean, I can generate static images that are computer generated with set, but let's say I wanted to put a picture of something. As far as I know, I need the out operator, and I've been using Claude 4.5, and it spits out the code, and I try it, and I don't get any VGA output. So I was wondering if anyone has any insights to that, or is it just too kind of in the weeds?
I think what the key term that you need to look into or poke Claude with is called side set. So this allows you to set pins at the same time as doing something else. So where I'm assuming that what you're doing now is like when you're doing set, you're doing the sync signals along with like RGB signals.
Yeah.
Via set, whereas you want to shift to using out and side set. So out will allow you to take however many bits you need and move them from the output shift register onto the pins, along with doing fixed values for your syncs.
Yeah.
Using side set.
Okay.
So I think that's what you need, but I don't know much about VGA. So I don't actually know like what order you need bits in and stuff like that.
Well, I'm kind of relying on Claude to provide a fair amount of that. I mean, yeah, part of my generating is getting vsync and hsync right, and that's pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's an issue with the Feather RP2350. It doesn't have a lot of pins, sequential pins to use to output many color channels. I mean, I might have to move to Pico 2 to, for example, the PSRAM uses pin 8, and pin 8 is right in the middle of like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think. One thing I wanted to ask you, I've got you, Scott. I was just going to use RX and TX as GPIO, and it wasn't liking it. I wasn't able to output video, but maybe it was due to some of my other issues. I mean, is CircuitPython capturing those, or is it used for the REPL or something? Or
I don't think it should be, no. Like GPIO 0 and 1, whatever we use that are labeled on it, TX and RX, like they should just be general purpose IO. Only in the case where we're set up that that's how we do the REPL will we use it. But usually, like on the RP2s, because I have native USB, I don't think we do that.
yeah, that's what I thought.
I don't know if it's of a place at all.
That's why, I initially said, well, I don't need serial for any other functions, so that's 2 other pins I can use, and it wasn't working, and then I'd switch to other pins, and the project would work. So it's like,
yeah, you're needing 8 sequential ones or something.
As many sequential ones as I can get. If I can get 0 and 1, then I can.
So if the HSTX connector has all sequential pins, and you're not using it.
I've thought about that.
Yeah, that's really the solution, I think. So
if I wanted to generate one type of video source, then I would grab those pins because they're like purpose made and
yeah.
But I also want to use the DVI output.
Oh, so you want to do this both at the same time? I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like something that outputs video in like 3 or 4 different formats.
So there. What about the Metro? I wasn't paying too much attention. I mean, the Metro may have more pins
I think
available.
the Metro might.
Yeah, I would say right. I mean, I think the Feather is always going to be pin limited. The Metro has the HSTX connector, and it has probably some more a better set of consecutive pins.
Mm-hmm. So I may look at the Metro. I may look at the Pico 2 thing. One really nice thing is on the HDMI connector the breakout that Lemore did for HSTX. It has the I2C pins, so you can also pull a monitor for EDID. Whereas, like, say, the Pico, she made a sock put on the end of the Pico to get DVI, but it doesn't have I2C, so there's no kind of great direction there.
I would definitely do the 2350B if you want to do all like multiple video formats at the same time. Like, you just need more pins. Like, save yourself the heartache and just do the biggest 2350 for it.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Right. That is it for In the Weeds this week. As a reminder, you can always put your own topics in the Weeds if you want. Just load up the notes doc for the meeting and put your name down in the Weeds section, a little description about what you want to talk about, and we can have a discussion just like the ones we just wrapped up. And with that, we will move into the wrap up for the meeting. This has been the CircuitPython weekly meeting for February 9th, 2026. Thanks to everyone who participated. If you would like to support Adafruit and CircuitPython and those of us that work on CircuitPython, consider purchasing hardware from the Adafruit shop at adafruit.com. The video does get made, gets released on YouTube at youtube.com/Adafruit, and then will also be published in podcast form on all major podcast services. The meeting also gets featured in the Python for Microcontrollers newsletter. You can visit adafruitdaily.com to subscribe to that. The next meeting, as I noted before, is bumped to Tuesday next week. So on the 17th of February, Tuesday next week, we will meet. We will be at the usual time, however, 2 p.m. U.S. Eastern, 11 a.m. U.S. Pacific on Tuesday, the 17th of February next week. As always, the meeting takes place in Discord, which you can join anytime by going to adafru.it/Discord. If you'd like to be notified about the meetings and any changes to the upcoming meetings, day or times, such as next week, you can ask to be added to the CircuitPythonistas role on Discord. We will ping that role with reminders when the schedule is going to change. So that's it for this week. Thanks, everyone. We hope to see you all next week.